We are back. We're back in the stew.
Smell my fingers. Smell my fingers.
We are back. We're back in the stew. We are back.
Hell yeah, we're back. I'm Liam, this is Adam, and this is Michael.
Woo! What's up?
Glad to have you in the stew, man.
Hell yeah, I've been looking forward to it. I've listened to a couple episodes. It's nice to hear you guys shoot the shit, and it's nice to be here for it.
It's cool.
Cool, dude.
That is cool. I try to listen to an episode every once in a while, but it's tough when you're in the episode, every episode.
Yeah,
It is nice to be in the recording studio with the guy who calls himself the most handsome comic in Charleston,
Okay.
which is not a fucking high bar to clear. Like, Bill Davis is the second hottest guy in Charleston.
Shout out Bill Davis. I love
That's a
that guy.
shout right there. Bill just got a little
Thank you
chub.
for calling it out, because I've known him for years, and I've watched him turn from like pudgy teen into attractive young man.
Well, it's just funny because when you do the joke, it's like, yeah, you're fine, but it's not like you're Anthony Jeselnik.
Oh,
or anything.
yeah. I'm not stunning, but that also all grew from me not wanting to point it out and someone else just pointing it out.
I heard that. I heard somebody had mentioned
I
it at
guess
one
I
point.
have to point it
Well,
out.
yeah, his first 6 months to a year of comedy, he got interested as like the sexiest, hottest
Yeah,
piece of ass.
And
It just killed the crowd because everybody was like, exactly like you're saying, was like, I mean, he's a good looking guy, but listen.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Calvin
I
Klein
didn't
over
know
here.
I was like that stunning. I thought I didn't think I would have to ever address it.
Well, you see it with comics that do like a lot of self-deprecating weight jokes, and then they start losing weight, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm a fat fuck," and then the audience will be like, "No, you're not."
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah, it's
not
tough.
bad. Not much is
Yeah.
moving when you laugh.
Yeah, hopefully I don't ever get ugly, so I have to write
A bunch of new jokes.
It's like, yeah, I'm so fucking hot. Someone's like, dude, what the fuck? Maybe it'll be funnier.
It's coming. If you do comedy long enough, it's coming.
yeah, hang around those
Yeah,
people.
my gray will be soon.
Absorb their aura.
But yeah, no, you're not only are you listening to a few episodes, we have a super fan that we don't know if he's from Germany or Africa, but Mikolai C.
Oh,
That's
Mikolai C.
That's how you say his name.
Nikolai C.
He's commented on a few episodes. He's followed us on the Instagram.
What's his comments been?
This is dope.
Yeah, he's just supporting us, which is a huge step up from our original comments calling us gay.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny if he's in other countries saying this is dope. He's using like American vernacular. So.
But yeah, Mikolai C. Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is dope. He said, keep them coming. And yeah,
It just doesn't
we
stop.
We get either you guys are gay or really creative comments on why.
I meant that as a compliment.
I'm glad we can speak our truth.
that or not everyone should start a podcast. Some people have been really creative about it. Like, Confucius once said, if you can do it, you don't have to.
Yeah, just some bullshit.
Something.
About two white boys in a room.
Yeah. But it's been a roller coaster of a ride.
I had a friend of mine in New York who had a podcast, and she showed me one of the reviews she got, and it said, I listened to the podcast. I guess some of the stuff was funny, but not really my thing. I guess podcasts are really hard to do. Still love you, though. Sincerely, Dad. To which her comment was like, well, it's nice to know it's bad, but it's like not unlovably bad.
It's not. That's funny because it's like, do I send this over a text or do I just comment right on the post?
Yeah.
It's like,
Three stars. They're over at Thanksgiving dinner. Dad's justifying his 3 out of 5 stars.
you could have just like called me up, Dad, and told me. You didn't have
Yeah.
to like make it that public.
Well, with our podcast, my parents try to bring it up, and I come into a screeching halt because this is not.
Yeah.
I do not need any of my aunts and uncles finding out about this.
Yeah, my girlfriend said that her mom listened to an episode. I was like, I'm not asking any questions.
Oh, yeah. It's so funny because people who aren't in comedy, they're like, so do your parents watch your comedy? I'm like, God, I hope not.
Yeah.
Like
I brought my mom to one show. Yeah, you were there. I brought my mom to one show. That's it.
yeah,
That's
she was cool. I mean,
she's cool.
How did she feel about the comedy?
She thought everyone was gay. So maybe my mom's also.
So
in
her
our
observation
comments.
skills are on point.
that's exactly.
She's it's legit what she said,
Yeah.
which is so funny. I'm like, no, Mom, no. I think they were just like, maybe you just heard jokes that you didn't like.
No,
You're like, this guy's gay.
What you said was, do you see how fucking hot I am, Mom? They're not even trying to get in my pants. There's no way.
So I don't
Yeah,
bring my
exactly.
girlfriend to open mics much because I don't believe in domestic abuse.
Nice.
Nice.
But I bring her probably to like one open mic a year. She'll come to like shows and stuff.
Yeah.
But like
A little more formal.
But she every time she comes to an open mic, when people are really awful at an open mic, she's like convinced that they have to have some type of disability. Like, she's like, are they like?
No, it's a shame.
And she's like, I don't mean this to sound like politically incorrect, but are they special? And I'm like, no, they're just bad at comedy. And she's like, why would they keep doing this? Like, and I'm like, I don't know.
for the love of the game.
Maybe she's onto something.
She might be.
She could be onto something that.
Listen, birds of a feather. Josh loves hanging out over there. So, well, speaking of mothers, you brought up Liam's mom. Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah,
This is
Happy Mother's Day.
technically
We're
Mother's
recording
Day.
this at
Huge.
It's gonna come
10
out
a.m. on Mother's Day.
10 a.m. on Mother's Day. It's been pouring rain. Everything's soggy. Did you know sandbags had advertisements on them now?
What?
Yeah.
Really?
But my girlfriend, there's sandbags on her street, and there's just like websites on the sandbags.
I was like, I used to work at a bookstore, and they would always like grab the umbrellas and put them right by the door. Like when people were walking in, it's like, we can get another sale. And it's like, okay, whatever.
Bookstore
Well, it's-
cornering the market here.
Yeah,
It's advertisements
Capitalism
everywhere.
giant.
Next they're just gonna start like spray painting stuff on the street. As you're driving by, you're like, oh shit! Like trying to scan a QR code on the street. It's a very guerrilla marketing. Like, yeah, people are gonna need sandbags. Let's put our website on there. Direct them to some completely different shit than sandbags.
Well, it kind of coincides with our marketing tactics. We would put a bunch of QR codes to vote for us in the bathrooms. But, you know, there's probably...
Oh, yeah, you guys were in the Best of Charleston running.
Woo!
Yeah, hopefully
We'll
soon.
see. Felt really good. Very ego-inflated couple of weeks
Yeah,
there.
yeah, it was very on top of the world, and then now we're just like, oh wait, we still have like 20 people.
Yeah, Lauren Michaels hasn't called us yet. Still got work on Monday.
Interesting. Yeah. Why is that? Why is that?
After conning 20 of our friends to make an account.
I listened to In Stew.
Yeah.
I wrote that you were gay.
I wrote that you are gay and not everyone should start a podcast.
Never meet your idols.
Yeah. I do love hearing, like, there's a couple of comedians that, like, met Lauren but didn't get on the show, and I love those stories a lot more than people that have gotten on. Because none of them want to say anything shitty about Lauren, which is also funny, because, like, some of them are, like, 60s now, and they're like, oh, I don't want to say anything bad about Lauren. I'm like, dude, he's not calling you to be on the show at 62. Just say what you want. Like,
Or also that he could somehow find out and, like, blackball you from this open mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just pissed off. They had the one good Trump, and they're like, not me?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Well, they also talked about, I remember Dana Gould, who's like one of my favorite comics.
Mm-hmm.
He auditioned at the same time that Chris Rock, Adam Sandler, like that whole
damn,
class did.
Yeah, golden era.
And everybody said, like, Dana Gould was the best one that audition. But part of the problem that he had is he was such a developed comic by that point.
Yeah.
Lauren likes people he can kind of like mold. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you already have your shit figured out. I can't do anything with that. And you kind of have like a very distinctive voice. Whereas the other people were kind of newer, and he felt like he could actually kind of mold them to the show a little bit more.
And then also, say their career blows up, you can take part in somewhat discovering them, developing them, and then it creates the aura around SNL that if you have talent, you want to be molded, that's where you go.
You want to mold that talent. It's also just, I mean, it's a very specific set of skills. I mean, I've known a couple of people on SNL now, and it's funny because, like, when you're around like New York City, they're out doing sets all the time, and then like as soon as SNL starts, they disappear off the face of the earth because like it is like the most intense job anybody can imagine. Because like literally, you get like the scripts on Monday, and all you're doing is living and breathing SNL to that Saturday, and then you do that every week for like a couple of months, and it's just, I don't know how people keep up that schedule.
Yeah, and Adam's like, I can't believe Lauren hasn't called, and we're waking up on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Talking for 40 minutes.
The funny thing is, for most Charleston comics, like 10 a.m. is like the crack of dawn. So.
This is really early, so I'm glad that you can make it out here.
Yeah, it is cool. It is cool. Typically, we'd expect a text by 2 p.m. saying, "Oh, sorry, I just woke up."
Yes.
Been
There's a
hungover,
few
drinking Kool-Aid.
There's a few goblins in the scene that haven't waken up on time. But I won't. Yeah, Adam being one of them. That will be the only name drop I'll drop. But I mean, I've had other stuff to add, or talk about. But you mentioned that you did ghost tours.
Oh yeah. I was a ghost tour guide in Charleston. Several years ago, and I was also a carriage tour guide as well. So I did both of them.
Cool.
Yeah, in theory.
It's way cooler after the fact.
I mean, there were good things about the job. One of the best things was
obviously the horse shit.
Actually, that the whole horse aspect of it really wasn't the problem. It was usually like certain guests and things like that.
And probably
Foreigners.
hot as fuck.
And then like I remember one of the animal rights people started like really flaring up like the last year I was doing it, which I'm very for, like being respectful to animals and things like that. I can honestly say, while I might have some disagreements with certain things, the carriage industry there, at least the company that I work for, treated the horses ethically.
Yeah, and exactly.
Yeah.
And for a lot of these horses, I mean, again, I'm for, ethical, do it right. They need to walk around and do stuff.
Yeah, they like it.
Well, and most of them had come from like Amish farms where the Amish people literally just like worked them to death.
Yeah.
I mean, it was literally like Django Unchained for horses, and
that's that's what they're used to. So it's like if they're old and not doing anything, they're gonna go out and like run.
And the
around.
way the carriages are built, they don't put actually that much weight on the horses. Like they use kind of like a pulley system that's not really harming them in any way. But like I remember there was a kid one time that kept like weaving his bike in front of the carriage, and I had like the little like stick, like that you have to kind of tap the side to get them going. And I kept telling the kid, like, if you keep riding your bike in front of you, like I am gonna hit you with this, like because you're scaring the guest. I mean, it was the horse could get spooked, and I've got 20 people in a carriage that could potentially get hurt if something happens. So he finally drove by, and I whacked the shit out of him. And he like contacted the tourism board, and the tourism board like, "Did you hit him?" I'm like, "Yeah," and here's why. And they're like, "Did you do that?" And the kid's like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Well, don't be an idiot." Like,
well, and that's the worst kind of delinquent kid is one that's honest. At least lie. Take it to the grave. What are we doing here? Like,
yeah. Well, he also. I mean, I had 20 people that had observed it too, so it was going to be kind of hard for him to. But yeah, I loved doing it. It was funny because when I applied to be a ghost tour, my boss, who was like one of the best bosses I've ever had, he was really excited for me to join. I'm like, "You should know this before we start. I don't believe in ghosts." And I go, "But if you want me to tell like an entertaining story and you want me to like tell the history as we have it, I got no problem doing that. I can do that." And that's kind of what he wanted. He had people that were wanting to kind of do the spooky vibes on tours. Like we had a woman named Karen who was like really good at just kind of creating a mood, but he wanted some people that were just kind of funny, kind of fun.
Well, also at the same time, if you like go and like just go around like, yeah, there's a ghost here. It's kind of just like, am I supposed to believe this man who's getting like I'm gonna tip him at the end of this, and so it's like also better if you're like legend has it.
Yeah,
there's been people who've heard chirping in the temple.
Well, and also like the funny thing is, I mean, I definitely, like I said, I was licensed to give because you have to get a history license back then to teach tours. So I actually did know the history of Charleston.
When was the War of 1812?
Seriously, though, you had to know, like, the botany in Charleston inside and out.
Shit.
You had to know, like, a lot of really intense details. In fact, the funny thing was, when I moved to New York, I took the tour guide test there. The New York test was actually easier.
Yeah.
Because the New York test, you just had to know basic stuff about a lot of topics. And in Charleston, you had to know, like, intensely specific details.
The New York test, what does dead ass mean?
Yeah.
Well, it would be like, what punk band played at CBGB's? And it's like, it's the Ramones. I knew that when I was like 12, man. Like,
That's crazy.
It was very basic stuff like that. Okay. Whereas Charleston, it just really got in the details. But it made you like, I didn't have like a huge appreciation of my hometown. But then when I started taking the test, I'm like, oh, this is actually a pretty interesting city.
Hell yeah.
Were people like, were there ever people that were like too into the tour?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, there were people that came up. And some people would be like in tasteless ways. Like I remember I had a friend of mine who was killed in the Emanuel AME shooting. And we had people on tour go like, have you seen his ghost? And I'm like, hey, a little too soon, man. Yeah, like, dude, can you like kind of back off? Yeah, that was like an example of like
hit him with the stick.
And when I say
this is a carriage tour.
When I say people, I mean like 3 people on different tours. This wasn't like one group of people.
Damn.
So some people didn't have any boundaries on that kind of stuff, like where it's like that's just fucking weird. But most of the people that were really into it were actually like your favorite people to have on tour. Because they were like really into it, and they'd be like, "Look at this picture. You see that?" And I'm like, "It's you eating a pizza." And it's like, "Yeah, but look behind me." And I'm like, "The reflection off the light." And he's like, "No, that's an orb." And I'm like, "Okay, hell yeah, yeah." And like, my thing was always this too. I don't necessarily believe in ghosts, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist.
Yeah.
So I never treat anybody like you're crazy because I mean, and a lot of the people that are like really into ghost tours are not crazy. Like a lot of them are very well educated. We had a dude who came from like an Ivy League school and just went on ghost tours in every city he was in. And he was like way into it. And so like very intelligent people, believe in it and that kind of thing. And I think that they have something interesting to offer. We also had, I never got to do it. But at the jail, they would have an overnight thing where you could stay overnight, and they would bring in like the ghost meters and all that, and let you do that all the time. And those people were like the ones that were like all the way
ghost meters.
What's a ghost meter? Ghost meter and gaydar are like the same science. What the fuck is that?
Coming from the inventor of the gaydar, ghost meter.
What the fuck is that?
Well, like.
It's like moon sand.
It was funny because like people would be like, why don't you believe in ghosts? And I'm like, okay, if ghosts are real, ghosts are supposed to be people that are back from the dead that have some type of unfinished business or died tragically. I'm like, just to kind of throw something out there, why are plantations not crawling with ghosts? Yeah. Like all this horrible shit that happened there, and you never hear about that.
They'd be beating the shit out of these people on the plantation tours.
Yeah, like I don't know that I've ever heard a ghost story about any of the plantations here. I'm sure they exist, but like...
Yeah, or maybe they're just all so happy because they're white people ghosts. Just black people they're not allowed to have ghosts too.
Yeah. Oh, like the afterlife had weird racist rules too. Like, no, it's just the logistics of like you think of the number of people that have died tragically in certain areas, and you never hear like
the 9/11 memorial that ain't crawling.
So. I do know one of the few funny stories about 9/11. So
there's only a few.
Yeah, I know. There's a woman that lives in New York, and she was dating a guy that worked in one of the Twin Towers at the time of that 9/11 occurred. What she didn't know at the time was that he was cheating on her. So he didn't go to work that day, and he stayed at a hotel with his mistress, and they like banged it out. And then he fell asleep, didn't have the TV on, didn't have the radio on or anything. So he was awakened by his wife calling him his girlfriend at the time calling him like 9 or 10 times. And he finally answered. He's like, "What?" And then she's literally watching as like the first building is falling. And she goes, "Are you at work?" And he's like, "Yeah." Why? like
That's the perfect Yeah. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. He tried to act indignant. Of course, I'm at work. Why would you ask otherwise?
She's gonna take the A train. She's gonna go down meeting.
Yeah.
Well, and I asked her what did you do? And she's like, I just hung up on him because I knew what was happening then. And then I'm sure he turned on the TV and he was like, oh shit!
Oh, damn! The one day I call out to fuck my mistress.
Dude, the divorce attorney, if they were married, it's like, all right, what lie did he get caught up in? Well, he said he was at work during 9/11. You get the house, you get the car.
Yeah, good thing they weren't married.
Have you ever gone on a ghost tour?
I've never gone on a ghost tour, but I want to.
What are you scared?
I want to be the
tour
what's it
guide.
called?
You want to be the ghost.
The
that scares
incentive.
them?
You know how like some of the homeless people at the end will like spook the ghost tours. Like if anyone's like, you could give them like $5 and be like, at the end. I want to be one of those guys.
We had one of the bus boys at because the tour would sometimes stop at Poogan's porch because there's alleged to be a ghost there. And there was a time that one of the bus boys that was clearing the table put a sheet over himself and like cut eye holes in it as we're giving the tour. And then I took a picture. I said to my boss, and he's like, "Oh, we should put him on payroll. Like that's a pretty good gig."
Exactly.
I went to one ghost tour when I was a kid in Savannah. So I'm from Georgia.
Savannah has good ones.
Yeah, and at the very end, they show you a big old cemetery where everybody died of yellow fever, and like they're like, if you feel their energy, everyone will start to get sick, and everybody's like hot and sweaty. Didn't piece it together until later. It was like a 6-hour ghost tour. We were a bunch of kids who were dehydrated, tired, and had been in 100-degree heat. So that's why we all thought we had the yellow fever. It's because just zapped dry.
Yeah, you're just drinking juice and hearing tall tales. And you're like, oh, I'm dying right now.
Yeah.
We would have. I remember one time this father came over to me and he's like, "Hey, buddy," and I'm like, "What's up?" And he's like, "I know you want to give a factual tour, and I believe you're going to do it." I'm like, "Well, okay, thanks." And he goes, "My daughter's name is Caitlin, and she's on the tour. Is there like a little girl ghost story you can tell, but just change the name to Caitlin, like just to fuck with her?" And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, "I'll pay you $100." And I'm like, "Her name is Caitlin."
So one time, hey, you tested your license there. You put it on the line.
Well, I did afterwards. I mean, I prefaced by going, her name's not Caitlin, but like, and then I like point out Caitlin. She was cool, like, and was very, very like, was a good sport about it. But it did freak her out for a moment, like so.
Oh, I'd be freaked out.
Yeah, the ghost name was Caitlin, and she gave me $1,000.
If it was my sister's name's Caitlin, she'd be like, "Yeah, but how'd she spell it?" Because there's like 1,000 different ways to spell Caitlin.
Yeah, that is one of those names where you can kind of get out the loophole of.
Yeah, but like, is it a C or a K? I'm not buying it right now. There's a ton of Caitlins. They don't spell like me.
Oh man.
We had this thought on a recent podcast where, there's tons of touch tunes now.
Yeah.
Everywhere at the bars, and a form of hitting on a girl or getting her, like trying to get her back out of the bar, I guess. Play like just some annoying song like 12 times and then walking up to her and be like, "Hey, Crazy Frog's about to play 12 times in a row. You want to get out of here?" What song would you play? I guess.
But how creeped out would you be as like, "Hey, if you want to get out of here," and then just a single tear comes down her cheek and like, "Not right now, they're playing my song."
I love Crazy Frog.
Yeah. And then you get it stolen. Somebody's like, "Who the hell would play
that's
this?"
the thing. You can't play a song that they actually like, where they'll stick around for it. The 9th time in a row for it.
That is always one of the things with like touch tunes, like because like my girlfriend and I, like when we go to Waffle House, they have a touch tune there, and we'll play a couple songs.
You gotta set the mood of the house.
You want to set the mood and play shit you like, but also if you play stuff that's too good, the person you're with will want to stay at like Waffle House for like 3 hours, and it's like, okay,
keep it going.
I need to do like 4 songs she likes, and then I need to do like Surfing Bird. So she's like, "All right, we need to fucking go now." Like.
Yeah, someone played, what was it? The Saga Begins by Weird Al last night at the...
Oh, that's it. I dig that one. Yeah.
It's not bad, but it's like I thought for the longest time American Pie was playing, and then I finally hear like Darth Vader and the Jedis. I'm like, am I having an aneurysm right now?
Yeah.
What is...
That'll happen with Weird Al songs where you like hear sections of it and you're like, oh, this is the other one.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I was like mid-bowl, and I've got this like 15-pound bowling ball. I'm like getting ready, and then I hear some bullshit about Anakin, and I just bowled it straight into the gutter because I'm just crying laughing. It just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, the drunk 18-year-olds next to us had no clue what was going on.
I was waiting for them to drop some slurs. They were slur were adjacent drunk. Those teenagers next to us.
It's funny because that song was successful when it came out, but there's like so many stories of businesses that did something Star Wars Episode 1 themed because everybody was convinced that movie was just going to be like the biggest movie of all time. There was a pinball company, Williams, that like all of the old pinball machines that you saw, like Williams made like all of them.
Yes.
They were like the #1 pinball company. Thing that killed them was they made a pinball machine for Star Wars Episode 1. And then it got delayed, and they were only going to have it come out like 6 months after the movie. And they're like, oh, it'll be fine. It'll still be huge 6 months after the movie. And of course, a month after that movie came out, people were like, this is dog shit. And like, so by the time the pinball machine came out, they put so much money into it, it ended up killing the company.
They just had a fuck ton of pinball machines.
Yeah,
and it was like
betting it all on Star Wars, baby.
Well, it was a good machine. It had
Pinball
like one of the
forever.
early like LCD screens that had like shit. And it was like a very good, well-built pinball machine, but it was just for a movie that everybody didn't like at the time.
I am a pinball fanatic.
Pinball wizards.
I
fucking love pinball.
I have
dude.
3 of the high scores on the Spider-Man or the Venom pinball
Wits End?
machine at Wits End.
Hell
I do.
yeah, man.
I got to keep my name up there. That's the only way that Wits End's getting money out of me. Is that
They're like, Liam, you never tip. I've spent $480 on fucking pinball this week.
your electricity's on because I'm paying for the pinball machine. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, new Pope, American.
Yeah.
Yeah, earlier in the episode,
From Chicago.
Yeah, you mentioned talking American slang, like ghosts and stuff. And is there any like recording of what the Pope might like American slang?
Well, I remember thinking this like I think it was when Ratzinger became the Pope, the one right before Pope Francis.
Yep.
They interviewed a bunch of people that like went to high school with him, and I said, "You never think about the fact that like people knew the Pope in high school?" And I'm sure there's one dude who's like, "Yeah, I knew the Pope. He was a dick." Because it just inevitably happens. Not everybody bats 1,000 when they're younger.
100%.
Like, and definitely like in Chicago, I know that there's some hardened dude in Chicago. It's like, yeah, that Pope was a dick. Like,
Somebody before the Pope was all the way in, he's ripping a couple classes at Villanova, and somebody asks him for some money, and he's like, "Get away from me, you!" Just ripping slurs on the train.
well, he's apparently a Cubs fan too.
no, it's
like White Sox fan.
Yeah, White Sox. He's a big White Sox fan. And like baseball fans talk shit all the time. So somebody like looked at the Pope wearing a White Sox hat and was like, F you! Like, and then found out later, oh shit, that guy's the Pope now.
Yeah. He was slamming glizzies and drinking beers, definitely, for sure.
There's a clip of somebody's mom during the Pope announcement, and she had like hooked up with the Pope in college. So somebody's like on Zoom being like, "My mom had a fling with the Pope back in college." Yeah.
Well, and it's so interesting too. Like, I mean, the guy seems like he's a fairly progressive dude so far, too. Like, that's the crazy thing, too. Because there was a lot of talk after Francis, who was also, for a pope. I mean,
Yes,
they're still the head of the Catholic Church. There's going to be some conservatism there, but had a lot of progressive views, and people were like, well, it's probably going to swing in the other direction. And then it's kind of like, well, no,
Double
this guy
down.
seems pretty
Double down, yeah.
pretty consistent with that.
We'll see. I hope he does the funny accent.
Yeah.
Because is it Italian that they speak, or is it Latin?
I think they speak Latin, but I think the reason Italian had become kind of commonplace is a lot of the last couple of popes have been Italian. So I think that just became kind of accustomed. I think he spoke in Latin and Italian when he did the thing. I know he didn't speak English because there were a bunch of people that people that were like trying to complain about the Pope were like, he didn't speak in English.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, purists and shit.
Why isn't he? I can't understand a word this
What
American.
was this,
I
George
can't
W. Bush talking about the Pope?
What is this American Pope saying? It doesn't sound American to me.
Watch this drive.
But yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, it's a piece of history because, I mean, most people, even if you live to like 90, you see like 6 popes tops. I mean, it is kind of like a very unique moment in history. And it is also funny too, just because there's so few things that we have in culture anymore that are that bound by tradition.
Yeah.
So like when you're just like, oh, these 13 guys are going to go in a room and then they're going to have white smoke come out, and it's like, what the hell is this? Because nobody has those type of like customs anymore.
It's like
You hear the glass shatter. Stone Cold comes out holding the Pope in there.
Oh, I was holding out that Stone Cold would be the Pope, but like
you put the bet on.
Austin 316, baby.
Yeah, there's some fucking religious frat rituals that they're just doing in there. They're just beating each other up. They got paddles. They got to go do ridiculous Pope tasks to try and be the Pope.
Well, and I think that kind of adherence to custom is what makes Catholicism, of all things, like appealing to people. Like, yes. I have a friend of mine who's like 50 who just converted to Catholicism recently. And he's very into it. And I like kind of asked him, like, there's a lot of denominations. What kind of made you decide on Catholicism? I'm like, there's like a lot of like ritual. There's like a lot of like protocol. And he's like, something about the order of that. I mean, there was a lot of reasons. I think like he just kind of decided that was where he wanted to go. But a lot of the ritual was actually kind of what he liked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. People like
reject modern.
People like the rules. People like the structure of stuff. Yeah. There's a corporate entity, you know, there's something overseeing us.
Well, like most people prefer to have like an iPhone over like an Android. An Android, if you really want to be honest, you could like get in the guts of it. You can mess with the software because it's open source. Mm-hmm. But people like the idea like, nah, Steve Jobs.
Yeah, take it to the Apple Store.
Set it up for me.
They figured it out for me.
Apple Store. Yeah, there
exactly. This American Pope, he's going to do the stuff that I want to do.
Well, I tried out a couple churches when I moved here, and exactly like you're saying, I went to a non-denominational one that's just like good times and ponytails. And
was that the name of the church?
Yeah, might as well have been. Well, the church got renamed to Adam, if you show up here, we're going to ban you, because I got into disputes with the deacons. So during the sermon, like everyone's wearing their Patagonia puffer jackets and $3,000 Rolexes. And we're talking about it's the brand new year. It was like a new year. I was like, all right, new year, new me. I'm going to go back to church. And during the sermon, he was talking about Stanley Cups. And he was like, Stanley as a company was bringing in $50 million in revenue until some nurse took a picture of her water cup. And they had a decision to make. Are they going to do the same camping gear, or are they going to make these brand new water bottles and commit? So they changed it up. They started doing something new. And this year, they're going to make $700 million in revenue. Are we going to stay the same? And the whole crowd was like, no. And I was like, why are we bringing $700 million worth of revenue into my Jesus talk? We're just capitalistic pigs at church now.
To inflation, you know, it's, $10 back then is now $700 million.
$700 million, exactly.
It's just the offering to the church, really.
Yeah.
Well, it was always funny back in the day, like if you went to church regularly, you would go to and they'd have like the standard sermon, like, be kind to each other, don't do this, and those were like standard messages. But then you would get to that one sermon where it's like, oh, it's fundraising season, where they're like, by the way, if you act now, and it's like,
the church, yeah,
an open heart and open pockets.
Yeah,
give us all. Jesus worked for nothing.
Yeah, well, the head preacher was like, I'm lucky enough to be able to tithe 20% of my income, and he was wearing a multi-$1,000 suit. I was like, well, then how much money are you making?
Yeah, I want my priest low on grocery money and skinny up there looking like you.
Yeah,
he's
dude.
like, please,
just scraggly. Well, I don't want any flat screens. I don't want any Cadillacs.
You don't want to feel the minister's getting high on his own supply.
Oh, 100%.
It's kind of like it's similar like if you're watching a cooking show. Like I love Giada, like De Laurentiis, and she's like a beautiful woman, but I'm like, you're way too skinny for me to take your cooking seriously. Like I need to feel that you're that your food's so good you're having to dig into it too.
100%. Well, Nobody's taking my advice on a meal.
We brought up the big girl that I was sitting next to at the concert that I was at. She was sitting down most of the concert on her phone. I happened to peek down and look at what she was doing on her phone, and then the title of the notes just said recipe ideas. And so the entire time she was writing in recipe ideas. And I wish that I made that's a joke that I wrote, but it was just the reality that I was set into, that this big girl was writing down recipe ideas.
Yeah, but there's
it was probably amazing, to be honest.
It was so good.
Well, I mean, there's something Emerald's supposed to be a pretty good cook and he's a thicker milkshake, and I'm kind of like, oh, okay, I buy it. Like, your food must be good. Like, if you're like taking part in it too. I mean, most people, I mean, I like to cook now and then, and it's given people kind of an undue confidence about me. It's like, well, he's fat. He probably knows what he's doing. Like,
So whilst we're cooking, what we're going to do, we have these hors d'oeuvres, Doritos Locos Taco.
We've always had it as a reoccurring question. If the purge was real, you know, my crime would be that all year I raise like a fighting chicken, and on purge day, he's allowed to fight because it's legal, because all crime's legal. Besides, you know, we're not going to do the heinous shit. What are you doing on purge day?
So I'm not.
Besides trying to stay alive.
Like, I'm not a guy that wants to go around like killing people necessarily.
Of course not.
Like, yeah, I mean, but even like in a fictional scenario, I'm not for the death penalty. I'm all that, so I can't ascribe any of those to even like a fantasy context.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of people like. I think I just have a list of people. It's like, I'm just going to kick them in the balls one time. And I hope that just kind of like evens them out. Like, I hope that just humbles them enough that they're like, okay, I don't want this to happen the next purge, so maybe I'll knock this shit out. I'd probably have like a list like that. I would definitely I'd probably do like a bunch of petty crimes, but just shit that you know, you ever had a moment where you thought of like doing a crime and you're like, the only thing that kind of kept you from it was just like the threat of police, because it's kind of like a victimless crime.
Yeah.
Like I'd
Stealing
probably
a little
Parking in the
candy.
handicap spot.
Yeah. Like parking in the handicap spot, or like,
Stealing a lollipop.
you know, I'd go to like a grocery store and like I'd go through like the 10 items or less line. I have like 60 things in my cart, and I'm like, what the fuck are you gonna do? Like,
Maybe like go to the grocery store and not pay for anything, just be eating while you walk around the store.
yeah, do like really audacious things like that.
Kind of like a Ferris Bueller's Day Off type of purge day.
Yeah, well, because the funniest thing about the purge is they just always show the most extreme versions of shit.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Can I perform tax evasion on purge day? Can that be allowed?
well, that's the thing too. Like, if you really wanted to have the purge be interesting, have it be like on April 15th or something, like on tax day. And it's like, well, fuck, I know what my purge is going to be. Like,
That's fraud.
Yeah. Probably set up illegal duels. Well, legal duels, because, you know, it's purge day.
yeah, I mean, duels in general, I would never want to be part of a duel.
I'm betting on it.
I'd like to witness a duel at some point, and I hope it's over the most ridiculous shit ever, because if you read about a lot of duels, a lot of them were over the dumbest shit, too. Like, you know, it's one thing if it's like...
It's street beefs.
Yeah.
Literally what it was.
Yeah, it was like, you know, you soiled my clothes with your beer. It's like, and then they go outside.
Instead of me soiling my clothes with my piss.
Yeah. Well, and they probably already did, too.
Yeah.
Like,
That's why my
Your
girlfriend...
beer's washing
That's
out
what my
my
girlfriend
piss
thinks
smell.
going to happen every time I honk my horn in the car.
She's like, challenge you to a duel.
Challenge me to a duel by getting out of the car and wielding their gun that they have, because I honked my horn in my car that they also have. I'm like, but they have a horn also. They could use it.
Yeah.
well, I think the other reason we can't bring duels back is, like, back in that day, like, if you had a gun, it was just kind of considered everybody had a gun. Like, you know, you'd have a gun on your holster, you'd go in there. But now, like, because we have, like, gun enthusiasts now... Like, I don't want to have a duel, because there are literally people that are like, I've been training my whole life for this.
Finally, someone spilled their beer on me. I get the challenge.
Well, I also
them to a
like the
duel.
idea that the guns were unreliable. So there was like that.
Yeah.
I like the idea that they weren't accurate.
Did you clean it that day?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there are stories of, like, guns backfiring on people during a duel
exploding in
and,
their
like,
face,
blowing
yeah.
off their hand and stuff
Yeah.
like that, which also kind of almost makes it more respectable.
Yes.
It's like you were taking somewhat of a risk yourself by having a duel with somebody, even with your own weapon. And I'm like, okay, I kind of have more... In the same way that, like, if somebody goes hunting with a bow and arrow...
Yeah.
I have, like, more respect than, like, a gun. And not that I have any problem with hunting either way. But if you're hunting with a bow and arrow, that's really just getting down to basics.
Yep.
Yeah, technology's ruined everything now. Online porn and duels. No
How did it
attention
ruin
span.
online porn? Yeah.
Well, just ruined. I don't know.
It ruined the authenticity of going to the porn store, picking out a VHS tape, getting dirt on your hands, getting active.
And get active and get after it. But.